Hello and welcome to another episode of the Mr. Sitter podcast with your boy Anthony Locascio. How's it going? Ladies and gentlemen, I am very excited to be sitting here wearing the Real Madrid jersey given the match that unfolded this morning. I may have been wrong in my prediction, but I was right in my heart to not like Liverpool. I'm not backing Liverpool for shit for the rest of the fucking season, guys. They are a letdown. This year, Liverpool are just shit, and frankly, I kind of like it. I'm kind of enjoying it now. Now that the initial kind of paradigm has been busted, because you just you know how good Liverpool have been for the last 5 years or so, and you just don't think that they're going to collapse because they've still got Jurgen Klopp. They've still got most of the players that they've had for the time. But now that they seem to be reverting to the Liverpool that I grew up with from the mid 2000s to like the mid 2010s. So we'll chat about that in a little bit, because it's that just happened. We got plenty to cover from even last week, because I sat and I watched Manchester City versus Arsenal in the even though there were two Champions League games going concurrently. Everybody knows that was the money match. That was the potential title fork in the road, like line in the sand, decider. And when City absolutely dominated Arsenal in the second half, kicked their ass, 1-3-1, I thought, this is over. I thought this is absolutely done. The title race, that's all she wrote. Signed, sealed, and delivered. The fat lady is pumping out some tunes, baby. But that was wrong. That was wrong. One of the reasons why I did kind of think that is because you saw the difference between having your team spearheaded by a player the caliber of Erling Haaland makes, as opposed to having the team spearheaded by a player the caliber of Eddie Nketiah makes. Now, Eddie Nketiah is decent. He's fine. And he'll get you goals against your Bournemouths and against your Leicesters. But he's not even close to the league of Erling Haaland. And that was shown to be the case, because Erling Haaland in the second half just made himself an absolute nightmare for the Arsenal defenders. Gabriel got extremely lucky to not give away a penalty against him, because he was offside in the build-up, and Eddie Nketiah missed a bunch of chances. And on that alone, plus the pedigree, the champions mentality, the fact that there's no other challenges, and the fact that Arsenal's head of steam that they built in the first half of the season is just simply unsustainable, I thought this is where Arsenal capitulate mentally, and they just surrender the lead in the Premier League to the consummate champions that are Manchester City. But then Manchester City failed to beat Nottingham Forest, and Arsenal defeat Aston Villa in what was an absolute fucking belter of a game. Couple of things stood out to me from the Arsenal Villa game. First of all, not enough respect, with a K, is put on the name of Ollie Watkins. Ollie Watkins is a fucking great player. Ollie Watkins, as far as I'm concerned, should be playing for England. Should be, yeah, absolutely. Even as like an outside forward, or as the main centre forward, if Harry Kane isn't available. I like Ivan Toney, but I think Ollie Watkins gives you more, and the goal that he scored against Arsenal is just exceptional. He is a I won't say he's a complete forward, but he is a forward with just like, he's the modern day forward. He's strong. He's really quick. He's got good dribbling, good shooting, and the energy that this guy brings. I like Ollie Watkins a lot. Good player. Saka equalizes for Arsenal in like the typical Saka goal from this season. Just like the ball forced to him loose in and around the penalty area. First time volley in. Bam. Bukayo Saka is emblematic of Arsenal's season. If they do go on to win the Premier League, it's him or Odegaard that are the player of the season for me. Even though I was on Born Offside podcast this week with Claudes and Olan Tekers. You guys should check that out. It's less of me talking, because there's two other guys on there, but it's considerably better produced than what I've got going on here. So Anyway, I said on that podcast that Marcus Rashford should be the player of the season in the Premier League, and I believe both arguments, So we'll see at the end. I'll say at the end of the season who I think, and that'll be my flag in the dirt. This is who I think. So for now, don't pay attention to anything that I'm saying. Zinchenko, who is a boyhood Arsenal supporter and has just been brimming with happiness at having joined Arsenal, being in like the Manchester City fucking lifer before then, scored, surprisingly, his first ever Premier League goal in this game, which was an absolute belter. And Arsenal ended up winning because Jorginho took a really good shot. I didn't know Jorginho could shoot other than from the penalty spot, but Jorginho had a great shot and it ricocheted off the crossbar, and then Emi Martinez, possibly the best diving header I've ever seen in my life for the finish. It was fantastic. It was like it was the whole head motion, the whole thing. Like, it didn't look like one of those the ball hits the keeper in the back of the head after ricocheting and go. It is the perfect header from Emi Martinez, and a lot of people on the internet and people in the English media have been saying, yeah, I enjoyed that. Fuck that guy. He behaved like a buffoon, disrespecting everybody in the World Cup. So fuck Emi Martinez. He deserves it. I disagree. I love comedy, so I love Emi Martinez, and I think everybody should just take themselves one or two notches less seriously. So I feel bad for him, but the header was fucking awesome. As we said, City missed a bunch of chances and drew to Nottingham Forest. It was just one of those games where City they missed a few chances and they got stung by a Forest team which are going to survive, which is great because Nottingham Forest are a European pedigree club. They've won the European Cup. They have been at the very pinnacle of English football, and it'd be cool if they could continue to sort of rise back to that spot. They've got an excellent manager, and they've got in Morgan Gibbs-White, their number 10, a very, very good player. Every time I've seen this guy this season, he's been great. I don't remember ever seeing him play for Wolves. As far as I'm concerned, he just materialized in the Premier League for Nottingham Forest this season. And he's been fucking great. And he was instrumental in the build-up to Forest's goal, which was scored by Chris Wood. And City don't win. And City drop points. And Arsenal clamber ahead of them. So now they're 3 points ahead with an extra game in hand. And one more match to play against Man City. So the Premier League title race is going to go down to some kind of wire. Because I certainly don't see Arsenal winning every single fucking game moving here on out. We'll see how it all goes. One thing that was really funny in this game was the dueling chants from the Forest to the City fans. Champions of Europe, you'll never see that, is what the Forest fans were screaming at, singing at the City fans. Of course, given their previous European pedigree. Then the City fans went back with Champions of Europe. You weren't even born, because it was in the 80s. And then the Forest fans went back to them saying, Champions of Europe, you won't be alive. Just top tier English singing in the crowd stuff. I went to Sydney FC on the weekend and I left with 10 minutes to go, so I missed the equalising goal from Sydney FC because it looked like it was going to fucking rain, and we decided that the game wasn't worth sticking around for because it was pretty dismal. And I've been listening to the chants in the Cove for almost 20 years now, and I don't know who's writing this shit, but Jump Up in the Cove is still happening. Jump up in the cove. Jump up in the cove. And then they jump. That and Sydney FC score us a goal. That's the extent of the karmic instructions that the fans are transmitting to the players. The players to be sitting there like, they want us to score a goal, guys. That's what we've just been out here passing the ball around. Which, given the way Sydney FC play, you'd be forgiven for thinking that might actually be the case. But anyway, the point is that Australian football chants suck. In and amongst all the other things about Australian football that sucks, catch Born Offside this week to hear me chatting about that. I had a big rant about it, as is it's my brand at this point to be just like heaping feces on the local game here. Anyway, Liverpool, Newcastle was another game. Liverpool, this is a red herring for me as to why I thought that Liverpool would beat Real Madrid, because they seem to have turned the form around, but then I forgot that Liverpool fucking always beat Newcastle. Going back to a game that I saw where I made a prediction in 2008 with a friend of mine where Liverpool played against Newcastle in Newcastle, and Steven Gerrard scored like 4 goals in the first half, and it ended up finishing 6-0 or some shit. Since then, I can't remember a time that Newcastle have ever not gotten absolutely fucking pasted by Liverpool. This wasn't a pasting, but it was a bad game for Newcastle. A tale of two goalkeepers, really. Alisson proving in this game why he is 1 or 1B of the best goalkeepers in the world. He was fucking outstanding. Nick Pope, on the other hand, gave his audition to play for the Cronulla Sharks next year. Scored a try just outside the penalty box. Got sent off for handling the ball. I mean, you understand that his goalkeeper instincts to protect the ball, he doesn't have that thing in his brain that says don't touch it with your hands because he's a goalkeeper, but still pretty fucking retarded. He gets sent off, which means he's suspended for the League Cup final, which is weird to me, but that's how it works. He's suspended for the League Cup final against Manchester United on the weekend. Martin Dubravka was on loan at Manchester United the first half of the season, so he is cup-tied. He can't play, which means the only keeper that they have, well, not the only keeper, but the main keeper that they have available is Loris Karius, the great villain of the Champions League final, Gareth Bale's bitch, who has become sort of like a meme in the football world, Loris Karius, who is not actually a bad goalkeeper. He kept several clean sheets en route to Liverpool making that final. So, it'll be fine as far as a goalkeeping performance. What won't be fine is the result for Newcastle. Manchester United, I think, are going to kill them. My predictions haven't been going great of late, but I'm pretty confident with that. Because Man United are the real deal, guys. They are the real deal. Put some respect back on that great club's name. I'm not a Man United fan, but I like it when they're good because they were always good throughout my lifetime, and I like a parity. I don't like change. I get excited for Manchester United these days. Rashford is just electric. He has scored 24 goals this season already, having beaten their top scorer from last season's total goal tally for the season, which was 24, who was, of course, Cristiano Ronaldo. I think Ronaldo leaving. Eric Ten Hag. This thing, brother. This thing. Lamente. He's a smart guy. Kicked Ronaldo out of the club, effectively. Ronaldo leaving has unlocked Marcus Rashford in a way that he hasn't been unlocked ever in his career, and all the better for it. I'm not going to shit on Ronaldo because he's done. He's finished. No one cares. I don't care what he's doing in Saudi Arabia. There's reports about what he's doing in Saudi Arabia. I couldn't give a fuck. I don't care. He scored heaps of goals. Congrats, bro. Whatever. I thought David De Gea, like a year ago, I thought he was finished as a top-level goalkeeper. In this game, he showed me that I am an idiot. He was fucking great. United aren't just Marcus Rashford and him. United's build-up is something else. Like, Fred had a good game. Fred looks like a really good player, and I think Fred is unfairly maligned by United fans. He was great. Their build-up play is really, really great, as evidenced by the Jadon Sancho goal, which was just scintillating Ryan Giggs kind of full-flow Sir Alex Ferguson football. So, Man United, keep an eye out for them. They are well and truly going to be in the title race next year, not this year. My boys, Brighton and Hove Albion, lost to Fulham. Fulham, who, let's not forget, came up from the Championship this year and are fucking 6th. Fulham are 6th. Marco Silva, take your hat off. He's doing a great job. Manor Solomon scores a goal. The Israeli international, really short dude, quite handsome, nice blue eyes. Israeli international who is on loan from Shakhtar Donetsk, but he'll obviously not be returning to Shakhtar Donetsk, has come off the worst years of his life, getting trapped in the Ukraine during the war, having to move out and come to Fulham, dream move in the Premier League, gets injured for a very, very long time. He is now scoring goals regularly in the Premier League, looks like a really decent player, gives his old manager at Shakhtar Donetsk, Roberto De Zerbi, a big hug at the start of the match. Those two will forever be tethered together because of what they went through in the Ukraine. RDZ is the man, but unfortunately, my boys, Brighton and Hove Albion, couldn't get the job done here against Fulham in the battle of the battlers. This is the battle of the guys who out of fucking nowhere, like, if you'd be, not Fulham, but you'd be forgiven for not knowing who the fuck Brentford and Brighton and Hove Albion were a decade ago. And now, all three of these clubs are battling for, like, two of them are probably going to get a Europa League spot. One of them will get a Conference League spot. And, like, chances are all three of them will finish ahead of Liverpool and Chelsea. And one of them may even finish, I dare say, ahead of Spurs and or Newcastle, who are also doing really, really well. But Newcastle are out of the top four now, and I don't think they're going to be coming back. Anyway, the third battler in the battle of the battlers is Brentford, who are having just scraped away from Crystal Palace with a draw, are now 11 matches undefeated since October. Fuck, Brentford are good. I don't get it because Ivan Toney's good, Norgard's good. But they are so much more than the sum of their parts is what I'm getting at. And I dare say if Thomas Frank were to leave, or if one of those core components were to leave, they're almost the Atalanta of England, I would say. Wherein the system far outweighs the individual components. But I could be wrong about that. When Ivan Toney gets poached by, let's say, Manchester United next year, I know that might seem far-fetched and unreported on, but watch, because they are reportedly not going to be spending money even if they do get taken over by the Qataris. I don't believe they're going to get Victor Osimhen. I don't see any reason why Victor Osimhen would leave Napoli. I don't think they're going to get Vlahovic from Juve because they're not, like, Juve are going to demand top dollar. That's not to say that Vlahovic won't leave, but I'm actually not going to talk too much about Juventus this week because I'm bored with my club. I can see a situation where Manchester United settle for Ivan Toney and it ends up being really good for them. Anyway, I digress. Brentford are cool. Like Brentford. Chelsea, we don't like. Chelsea, who I've abandoned, left them in the dust, don't like them anymore. I'm a Brighton fan, and a Brentford fan, and a Fulham fan, and whatever. I just like and apparently Manchester United fan. I am the fun storyline fan in the Premier League, and Chelsea are a fun storyline, but not for the reasons that they want to be. They lost to Southampton, who are last in the Premier League, and not particularly good. Since the winter transfer window ended where they spent over £300 million, Chelsea have won 0 games and they have scored just 1 goal. Things were not good. The decision to sack Thomas Tuchel and bring in Graham Potter mid-season and sign all these players irrespective of the positions that they play, like Todd Bowley is running this club like a fucking Taco Bell, and who knows where this roller coaster will end. For my money, I enjoyed in this game the fact that Ruben Sellers, who is the caretaker manager of Southampton since Nathan Jones' dismissal, like usually when you see the caretaker manager, he's got a fucking hat and a tracksuit on and he's clearly dressed like a caretaker manager. This guy rocks up coats, turtlenecks, like he's dressing like Mikel Arteta and gives the passionate like post-match press conference speech as well. You've never seen a guy as keen to get the full-time job as Ruben Sellers, and I for one hope that he gets it because he's a handsome man. But yeah, Chelsea are fucked. Everton Leeds, battle of the bottom dwellers. Oh no, Weston McKennie. Oh no, you're going to be involved in a relegation battle, Mr. Desperate to leave Juve. They lost. Everton continue to kick ass under Sean Dyche, and by kick ass I mean not be as shit as they were under Lampard. I think they're going to survive, and we'll see how it goes. The goal was scored, a belter, by, drumroll, Seamus Coleman. Seamus Coleman, who was good for an absolute screamer from outside of the box every second week at right back for Everton, anytime between 2008 and 15. I can't remember when I thought Seamus Coleman retired, but he's still there, and he's still the captain, and he's still scoring goals. Can I just nerd out for a moment? There was an Everton team that I absolutely fucking loved, with Seamus Coleman at right back, and Leighton Baines at left back, Tim Howard, Phil Jagielka, Bill Yaladinov, Tim Cahill, Mikel Arteta, Leon Osman, Stephen Pienaar, Louis Saha, Victor Anichebe, Yakubu. This Everton team was the one that was like, they would be 5th. It would be like death taxes Everton 5th, or they'd like dovetail with Martin O'Neill's Aston Villa at 5th. and then occasionally they would like push to go on a little bit further. And this is the reason why, other than like Everton at one point in the 70s and the 80s being the best team in the country, which we don't fucking remember, but in the Premier League era, that was the team that like you hold Everton up to the standard of, and them doing shit is a reflection on how good those teams were. Premier League is fun. I'm actually not going to talk about Serie A very much this week at all, because Napoli keep rolling. Two of the best goals you'll see all season in their victory over Sassuolo, from Victor Osimhen and Kvicha Kvaratskhelia. Who did you think scored? You know what I mean? And they kicked Eintracht Frankfurt's ass at home. In Frankfurt, that is, at the formerly known as Commerzbank Arena, which I've been to, which is why Frankfurt are my team in Germany, but I definitely wanted Napoli to win because I'm hoping for a clean sweep for the Italian teams. They win 2-0. That was a prediction that we all got right, boys and girls. And that's that. The Bundesliga is something that I will talk about for the first time in a couple of weeks, because the title race is hot, baby. First, second, and third, all on 43 points. We've got Bayern Munich, Borussia Dortmund, and Union Berlin out of fucking nowhere, with Freiburg sitting in fourth with 3 points behind. So they're well and truly in the race as well. This weekend, we have Bayern versus Union Berlin. Union are coming into this game on that's right, it's Union, not Union, fuckheads. Union are coming in on a 4-game win streak, and they are one of the storylines to follow in Europe this season. They are such a cool club, Union Berlin. They are like the anti-RB Leipzig, in terms of like how kind of popular they should be among neutrals. They're just a really coolly run club. They've made a number of real smart Moneyball transfers, scouting in the likes of Poland and Belgium and the Netherlands. They find ways to like value add to players that have never really like been heralded in the past. You've got Geraldo Becker, who came through at Ajax and has had a kind of journeyman career, and he's arrived at Union Berlin, and he's scored just a shitload of goals since he's been there. The coach, Urs Fischer, is Swiss, and he really leans into the Swiss-German dialect when he gives press conferences, like, to kind of, I mean, I don't know if he does this to show how underdog scrappy that his team is, and he is like, I'm just the Swiss guy. I'm a guest here, guys. He's super down to earth. Like, he looks like he's glasses and tracksuit. He looks like your dad. Anytime he's asked about Union's title bid, he's like, no. Our goal is to survive promotion this season. So they're really, and they have just like, they're from East Berlin, so they have real working class supporters who just like, I mean, the supporters of the Bundesliga are fucking awesome regardless, but these guys are great. So, I mean, let's all light a candle and hope that somehow Union Berlin wins the Bundesliga this year. That would be really cool. I'd take Dortmund as well, but I think we all know that it's probably going to be Bayern yet again. France is interesting. Not really, but it's interesting that Neymar was stretched off in PSG's dramatic last-minute win that Messi scored a free kick to win the game for him on the weekend. Neymar stretched off, and he's injured just in time for Carnival in Rio, which is not the first time this has happened. He has been out for PSG's matches a number of times in and around this particular period over the years, sisters' birthdays, etc. I spoke about this on Born Offside as well. If you want to go and check it out, I don't want to step on the toes of that podcast, so go and check that out. But that is something funny to keep an eye out for. One other thing that we spoke about on that podcast was, of course, the very sad news that former Ghana, Chelsea, Newcastle, Porto winger Christian Atsu, who is the same age as, or was the same age as me, was found dead in the rubble from the earthquake that hit Turkey and Syria. Mohamed Kudus, his former international teammate, paid tribute when he scored for Ajax against Sparta Rotterdam by taking off his jersey and revealing a shirt that said RIP to Christian Atsu. And the referee did not brandish a yellow card for this gesture, citing that some things are bigger than football. And I think that is great. I think that is a really heartwarming thing from the referee, from Mohamed Kudus, who's a fucking awesome player, by the way, guys. And yeah, the big loss to the football community, and it's sad. I mean, it's all of the victims. It's horrible. Okay. I'm not going to try and come up with a comedic segue. Tony Cruz has come out, because Tony Cruz likes to ruffle feathers with things that he tweets and says. He's come out and said that he's looking forward to the Super League happening, and it says, I'm sure it has great advantages. Now, I don't know if Tony Cruz is attempting to continue in the vein of kind of provocateur statements that he makes, or if he genuinely means this. But either way, I agree. The Super League basically already exists, and it's called the Premier League. It would be much better if the Super League, or what the Premier League was European wide. Does that make sense? Like if the money and the TV rights and the stadium and the infrastructure and everything that makes the Premier League amazing was multiplied on a European scale, I don't see how that could be anything but an amazing thing. Everybody came out when the Super League thing happened and was like, universally, the fans basically tore the idea apart. And I wasn't vehemently against it, because I didn't, we were taking a purely speculative fan perspective on the entire situation. We don't know what it was going to be, and we don't know what it will be, because, guys, it's going to happen. It's happening. And there's a chance that it's really, really good. There's a chance that it is better than the current way that football is. And if that happens, tremendous. And if that doesn't happen, they're not going to just leave it that way. They are going to, everybody wants to make money. And the reality is that football makes money because it is the most entertaining and most fan-generating sport in existence. If the fans are unhappy and the product itself doesn't work, they are not going to make money. So it behooves them to make it fan-friendly. It behooves them to make it the most entertaining product that exists. So they will, and we're going to be very grateful for it in the end. So everybody relax. Hopefully it goes well for my boy Tony Cruz, who is on the winning side this morning. I haven't seen the highlights yet, or indeed the matches from the Champions League this morning, because I'm busy preparing the show notes today for you guys. That's what I do. But yeah, Liverpool, Real Madrid, an absolute fucking pasting. At home for Liverpool, this one's done. Liverpool are out of the Champions League. I don't care what happens. Carlo Ancelotti and Jurgen Klopp are good mates, because Ancelotti, for some reason, spent COVID in Liverpool. No, he spent COVID in Liverpool because he was manager of Everton. Anthony, you fucking idiot. That's why, for some reason. That would be the reason, because I can't see any other reason why anybody would spend time in Liverpool. No offense, guys. And Jurgen Klopp would give Carlo gifts, and the gifts were e-cigarettes, because Carlo loves a dart. Okay. A few questions for this week. Thank you very much to the people that sent in questions. First of all, Selmita, a fan of ours from the pod, who I believe is from Denmark, correct me if I'm wrong, sent in a question in a voice message to me last week, asking me to talk about a particular transfer to the Western Sydney Wanderers. Now, I listened to the voice message at the end of the podcast last week, and I was like, yep, I'll cover it, and then I couldn't hear the voice message again. I believe she might have been asking about Morgan Schneiderlin, but I'm not sure. So, Salamita, I'm sorry. I'll get back to me and let me know what the transfer was, and I'll cover it next week. Apologies for that. I received another question on YouTube from a username, Sam Locascio1577. Don't know who that might be. I mean, it's a fairly common name in the New Jersey parts, but my inkling is that it is former guest of the podcast in its Kevin Lasagna Appreciation Podcast, guys, Sam Locascio, being my dad. And he left 3 comments. One was one I've forgotten to write down because it was just a comment. He agreed that Liverpool would beat Real Madrid. So he's wrong with me. That was one. The other one was a question. The question was my thoughts on the lesser heralded second tier leagues in Europe, the likes of Serie B and the Championship. And he cited Middlesbrough doing incredibly well with Socceroo, Riley McCree, another thing that we spoke about on Born Offside, coming up. And yeah, and also like he's a big Palermo. As a family, I wore it last week. We are auxiliary Palermo supporters. Our family, my nonno was born in Camporeale, which is a village that is like a 10-15 minute drive from Palermo. So they are our de facto kind of like hometown team, and we always love Palermo. We love to watch Palermo. Palermo, of course, were taken over by the City Investment Group. In addition to like New York City FC and Melbourne City FC, owned by the big boys that own Manchester City. That does not mean that they are getting a bunch of Manchester City type revenue coming in to just buy whatever players, but it would be nice at some point to see Palermo, which is, I think, the biggest city in Italy that doesn't have a team in Serie A. It would be great to have that kind of southern representation, like have some money and do well. So we're hoping that Palermo come up, but they are 9th. They're not doing too well in Serie B. Serie B is fucking great, by the way. Serie B is who was it? Antonio Conte. Antonio Conte said that it's harder to win Serie B than it is to win Serie A. That Serie B is the training ground for the tactical magicians that Italian coaches go on to be. Like some of the best coaches, like they cut their teeth in Serie B, and you can absolutely see how it is. Serie B is kind of star-studded at the moment. Coaching staff-wise, this season, because a couple of these guys have been fired, but this season, Pippo Inzaghi, Daniele De Rossi, Fabio Cannavaro, Alberto Gilardino, and Fabio Grosso are all coaching in Serie B, having all been a part of Marcello Lippi's World Cup 2006 winning team. In addition to having Cesc Fabregas playing for Como and Gigi Buffon at 758 years old playing for Parma, still playing in there, which means that in the league of Serie B, there are 7 total World Cup medal winners, which is more than Serie A. So that's pretty cool. Of course, it is going to be one like the Napoli the Napoli of Serie B are Frosinone, who Federico Gatti of Juve played for last year. They're 12 points clear on an amazing winning streak under Fabio Grosso, former Inter and Juve left back, and Lyon and Palermo, and of course the scorer of the penalty that won the World Cup in penalty shootouts in 2006 for Italy. He's killing it, and we're going to be seeing Frosinone under Fabio Grosso in Serie A next year. As for the Championship, Middlesbrough have come up from 16th to 3rd in the span of just a few months under manager Michael Carrick. Michael Carrick, of course, Manchester United and England legend, one of the most underrated players ever. He took over as caretaker manager of Manchester United after Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was fired, and he looks like he has the goods. And if Middlesbrough do indeed come up to the Premier League, maybe Riley McGree is going to be the second Socceroo after Hare Sutar. Fucking Hare Sutar is in the Premier League, but I think Riley McGree is a little bit overrated. Because I'm the Socceroos hater, guys. I'm the guy that hates Australia. Yeah, kick him out. Yeah, deport, cancel, blah blah blah, whatever. So we'll see how that shakes up. My dad also wanted to call me out on YouTube for making a faux pas in as far as North Macedonia not playing in the Euros, which I said last week. That was where I was impressed with Elif Elmas. But he's wrong. They did play in the Euros. They didn't play in the World Cup, but they certainly played in the Euros, which was 2 years ago now. Euro 2021, which is, inverted commas, Euro 2020. So, sorry, Daddy-O, but you're wrong there. If you come for the king, you best not miss. Speaking of miss, what a segue. Sitter of the Week, ladies and gentlemen, is back. We're talking about Sitter of the Week. And I found a fun one. It is another one in a friendly. It's amazing how many absolute sitters are missed in friendlies by really top caliber players, which kind of plays into the man of the moment axiom. David Villa missed against Colombia in a 2011 friendly. It was a wide angle, but the goal was totally gaping, and he just shoots it basically out for a throw in. Check it out if you're interested in that. David Villa is a player who I regularly see cited on Instagram as a player that everybody forgets. People forget how good this man was. No, we fucking don't. David Villa was, as far as I was concerned, in my era of football, because I'm that guy now. In my era of football, you had Thierry Henry, you had Samuel Eto'o, you had David Villa. Those were my, and you had Didier Drogba. Fuck, we were spoilt for strikers, man. We were Fernando Torres too, but only for a shorter period of time. But David Villa, man, he was phenomenal. He was phenomenal. Valencia, Barcelona, Atletico Madrid. He was successful no matter where he went. He was phenomenal. The complete striker. I don't forget how good he was. There's other shit that I see on Instagram. It's players you totally forgot about, and it's got Ezekiel Lavezzi and fucking Marek Hamsik and players like that. And it's no person that runs this Instagram account. These are not players that I forgot about. These are players that you forgot about because you didn't know them in the first place, you fucking child. I hate the internet so much. I hate the internet so much, but please like and subscribe and give comments and leave questions for next week and give reviews on the internet because I need you. If you're a fan of the pod, I'm a fan of you. As my buddy Claude said, very tongue-in-cheek on Born Offside, which you should listen to. Unless you're here from listening to me on Born Offside and you wanted to find out exactly who I am from that, in which case, gracias, and please stick around. Speaking of sticking around, we've got some killer games to look forward to, not only in the next few days, but this weekend coming up. Champions League match day, whatever, continues tomorrow. It is the final set of games in the first leg of the round of 16. We see Inter taking on Porto, and we see RB Leipzig taking on City, the latter of which is going to be an absolute pasting on the part of City. RB Leipzig are not good, and this is a matchup we've seen. I think they were in the same group last year. This is a matchup we've seen quite a few times over the years, and Leipzig have never enjoyed it. It's Christopher Nkunku against the world, and Christopher Nkunku is probably shitting himself at having already signed on the dotted line for Chelsea, and he's not, I don't think he's going to enjoy it there unless Chelsea do something absolutely miraculous in the next few months. And Inter Porto, which is an extremely interesting match for me. Porto are not as good as Benfica, European-wise, but they are still damn good. Conceição is actually a former Inter player. He looks to be gunning to get that Inter job at the end of the season because we might well see Simone Inzaghi be poached. That's something to watch out for. There could be a total managerial shakeup at the very top of Italy at the end of this season, which is something that we can discuss next week if you guys like. They've got the likes of Mehdi Taremi, who's a very good striker. They've got They've got Pepe still kicking around at the back. I think Inter are going to beat them, but I don't think it's going to be easy for them. So my prediction is City to absolutely thump Leipzig, even in their own backyard. Let's go 3-0 Manchester City 3-1 Manchester City to Leipzig, and Inter Porto 1-1 in Italy. Then this weekend we have Spurs Chelsea, which normally it's a big game, and it may well prove to be a big game because Tottenham are fourth, and I am not the only one who absolutely does not trust them to maintain that fourth spot. But if Antonio Conte can pull a win out, I mean, he's not going to be there because he's still recovering from illness in Italy, but if Antonio Conte's side can pull out a victory against his old side, I think this will more or less solidify them as a true contender, especially if Liverpool don't win. And like you've got Newcastle, you've got Fulham, you've got Brighton, and you've got Brentford that are all there stopping Liverpool and Chelsea from rejoining that top four, right? But surely all of them are not going to keep up the steam. Surely at one point, some of them are going to tumble. If they don't, that'd be fucking amazing. I actually don't back Newcastle. I think Newcastle I don't think Newcastle have I don't think Newcastle are as good as those other three teams. Maybe Fulham. Newcastle and Fulham, neck and neck, but I think Brighton and Brentford are better than both of them. And that might be because I'm a Brentford Zerbi apologist, but whatever, fuck me. So this game will show what Spurs are all about. If they lose to Chelsea, which they very well could, then you can forget about it for them. My prediction is 1-0 to Spurs. Italy has got two fun games this weekend. We have Milan versus Atalanta. Atalanta actually lost to Lecce, who are pretty good this season, having come up from Serie B. Atalanta will be out for revenge. Milan have secured their defense, having switched to 3-5-2 in the last few weeks. So this match will be interesting. I would like to hope that I don't want Atalanta anywhere near the Champions League. I'm happy for them to be the Martin O'Neill's Aston Villa of Serie A, but I don't want them in the Champions League. I would much rather Jose Mourinho's Roma come forth, so I want Milan to win here. So my prediction is going to be Milan 4-3. Yeah, it's going to be an absolute belter. Milan 4-3. The other big game is the Derby della Mole, which is only big in name because it's Juve versus Torino. Neither of those teams are doing great. Torino lost over the weekend, and it's being played in Juve's Allianz Stadium. It's always a hotly contested game, but I think Juve are going to pull it out because Torino aren't as good as they used to be. Juve 2-0. And then, of course, we have the Madrid derby. If you're a La Liga savant, Atleti are fourth. Real are, of course, second. Atleti have won 4 out of the last 5 games, and they are quite resurgent and still always dangerous. If Real Madrid lose, Barcelona and Barcelona win, Barcelona currently 8 points clear. Barcelona will go 11 points clear if Real Madrid lose here and they win. This is must win for Real Madrid, who will be buoyed by absolutely fucking Liverpool up the arsehole this morning. And I think that they're going to win. So, 2-0 to Real Madrid. I made a lot of predictions this morning, guys. So let me know if I'm wrong. I want more comments. I want more questions. These are good. More questions from people that aren't related to me. And questions that I can remember. I'm sorry, Selmita. I'll answer your question next week. So send in your questions. Let me know if you have a cool sitter that I missed or that I should talk about. Sitter of the week. If you have a funny football story that I should cover in lieu of just chatting about whatever happened over the weekend, let me know and we'll bring lasagnas back. If I'm wrong about something, hey, let me know in the comments. But make sure you're fucking right about it before commenting, I'll tell you that much. And listen to Born Offside, which was fun. Follow me. I am going to be in Adelaide very, very soon. So if you're in Adelaide, get tickets to Heart of Darkness, my best show ever. I'm like, even next year, my show is not going to be as good as Heart of Darkness. I'm never going to make another show as good as Heart of Darkness. Heart of Darkness is going to be my Moby Dick. It's my white whale. It's going to be my masterpiece. So if you're in Adelaide in March, if you're in Melbourne in April, if you are in Sydney, Perth, or Newcastle in May, look out for Heart of Darkness at any of the comedy festivals. And yeah, enjoy the football, enjoy the podcasts, and raise your daughters as ever, because that's important, guys. Don't watch Australian football. Raise your daughters.